pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
I do, please. So for those that don't know me, I'm Brad Rock. I'm the superintendent of Townsend Schools, and having had some time to reflect over the last couple months of kind of what's transpired in our board meetings and the events that have occurred after board meetings, I guess I first want to acknowledge that when you're in the business of school operations, there's going to be a lot of decisions that have to be made. That's what we do. And sometimes people will agree with those positions or decisions. Other times they won't. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I think a lot of growth can occur from disagreement, and a lot of reflection on our practices can come out of people having varying opinions on what we're doing. But one thing I would encourage, and this is for me, for the board, the community, everybody involved, is, just please remember to express your discontent or your disagreement, and with civil discourse. I think that's something that maybe went by the wayside a little bit, and not just here at these meetings, but as people engage online, as people engage out in the community. Just I understand with school leadership there's going to be disagreement, but I just really ask for people to have respect for people as individuals and just express discontent with the decisions that are made and do it in a way that's civil and respectful. And I think that would really help us as we try to, because aside from all of the things we've had to deal with, we still have a lot of important decisions that we need to make for our kids in this district. And some people will like those decisions and some won't. And it's certainly welcome people to express their opinion either way, but please do it in a civil way. So thank you.
Any public comment? Pam, please state your name.
Pam McDonald, live south of town. I'm a taxpayer in Broadwater County and a mother of two daughters, one who graduated from Broadwater County High School and the other one who graduated online due to lack of enforcement of anti-bullying. This is an entirely different topic, but that's not why I'm here tonight. First and foremost, I want to commend Mr. Rock for how he displayed his passion for our school last month. As I watched last month's meeting, I felt compelled to come tonight to address the school board. Granted, I did not watch the April meeting. I also did not have a student in the Townsend school system anymore, but I do pay taxes here. From an outsider watching the community's reaction to the May meeting, I felt I needed to come tonight to address the board. As I sat and watched the meeting last month, it appeared that only 2 of the current board members have listened to the administration and teachers. The administration and teachers are individuals that live with our kids daily and walk the walk every day. I am concerned that there are members of this board that do not listen to the individuals closest to the issues at hand. Furthermore, I am concerned from the fallout of last month's meeting might have long-lasting impact from others resigning, unfulfilled vacancies, or even failed mill levies like the poor district in Three Forks. I personally am going to be watching how this board responds to the community concerns after last month's meeting to determine how I vote going forward. Granted, the teachers and administrators should not be punished for the board's actions, But with social media and personal agendas being driven, your mill levies will most likely be affected. I urge you to listen to your teachers and administrators who live with our kids daily. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Lisa Larson. Townsend School Board members. Over 30 years ago, when I was hired for my first teaching contract at Townsend Public Schools, all the staff were informed of the importance of following the chain of command. Each year during our opening meetings, we've been reminded of this expectation, and I've always taken great pride in following it. The chain of command exists to ensure that those with the appropriate training and experience, our superintendent, principals, and athletic director, are able to lead are able to lead the district effectively. These individuals are entrusted to evaluate staff, provide informed recommendations to the board, and guide our school community with daily hands-on leadership. At the recent board meeting, the room was filled with supporters of Mr. Lawson. Each person who addressed the board spoke in favor of retaining him, including those who had formally evaluated his performance. Yet when the time came to vote, those voices and professional assessments were dismissed by 3 board members. During the motion and subsequent vote, it became very apparent that the decision had been made long before the meeting had begun. Where is the integrity in a backroom agreement? I am beyond disappointed in the decisions and disheartened by the direction our district is taking. In the last year, a troubling shift has occurred, largely driven by the repeated actions of a board member who continually disregards the chain of command as well as the law. This trustee consistently ignores administrative recommendations and has attempted to circumvent legal processes, seemingly in pursuit of a personal agenda. He claims to act in the district's best interest, yet his actions have forced the district to spend significant amounts of general fund money, funds meant to educate our children, on fighting baseless legal actions that he initiated and ultimately lost. Despite this, his targeted attacks on the staff member continue. When will this end? Who will be next? When can our dedicated staff feel safe, respected, and supported by all board members, not just 1 or 2? When will the focus shift back to the student's academic success with the same intensity often reserved for athletics? My concerns extend beyond internal matters. At the May 13, 2025 board meeting, this same board member acted illegally by urging the public to influence votes on the sheriff's levy, a direct violation of Montana Code 13-35-214. Later in the meeting, he referenced conversations with 7 parents regarding girls basketball, again bypassing the chain of command. According to the 2024-2025 student participant packet, in the section filed process for player parental concerns, there is a clear process for addressing parent-player concerns. Were these parents ever directed to speak with the coach, the athletic director, principal, or the superintendent? Were they encouraged to complete the athletics activities comment form? As a parent, this board member would have signed this form and should be fully aware of the protocol. This is yet again another example of Mr. Lawson's due process being invalidated by a trustee. In another instance, during the same board meeting, this trustee suggested we offer the middle school principal position at $40,000, which reflects the lack of familiarity with the ongoing negotiations, as well as your lack of understanding to the educational requirements of that position. As a member of the negotiation team, your participation and engagement are essential to the process. However, I must express concern regarding your lack of involvement. Had you attended the previous meetings, you would be aware that this amount is well below the salary of any teacher in the district and is not in compliance with the new regulations outlined in House Bill 252. You attended only one of the 3 negotiation meetings, and during that meeting, it appeared your attention was largely focused on your phone rather than the discussion at hand. When this trustee ran for the school board last year, they emphasized the importance of supporting and valuing the administration and staff of Townsend schools. I urge you to reflect on whether your all too frequent actions align with those stated comments. I fear for the direction our school is headed if we continue to allow board members to ignore policy and law with no accountability. It is time for the entire board to reaffirm its commitment to upholding the values, policy, and legal standards that have guided our district for decades, and to restore trust in those who are here every day, working on behalf of our students. I hope to see a more active and constructive role from all moving forward as we work together to make informed and equitable decisions for our district. If any of you feel you cannot commit to our mission of upholding those values, policies, and legal standards set forth, then I ask that you do the right thing for our students, our staff, and our community, and resign from the board immediately.
Any other public comment? Thank you. Any other correspondence or delegated or information, Mr. Ross?
No.
Guessing we'll be without student representatives for a few months. Do we have PTA report?
Yes, do. Okay, the PTA wrapped up our reflection art contest and awarded gave out awards to students at all 3 schools. We have local winners as well as several that advanced to the state competition, and so we were able to recognize them, and we would love to see more students involved next year. We are going to do that every year, and that is a national art contest. So the PTA will be doing a few small fundraisers this summer. We are selling concessions at adult softball games, and then we'll also be at Slice of Summer. So we'd love to see you there and support us there. And then several PTA members have been working closely with Mr. Cook to establish a parent involvement committee in alignment with Title I guidelines. And our initial goal we set was to enhance communication between the schools and the families. And to support this, our first objective was to kind of transform the traditional back to school ice cream social to more of an orientation format, providing a lot of valuable resources and information to parents, as well as an opportunity to drop supplies and meet the teachers. We are actively seeking additional parent volunteers to join this committee. And our next meeting is scheduled for August 15th at 2 p.m. We'd love to see anyone there. It will be at the elementary school. And then we would also like to request a spot on this agenda, the school board agenda, for that parent involvement committee to report, if that works for you guys.
Thank you.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
That that be like every month, or is that just a one-time?
Every month.
Every.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you for all you guys do too. You guys have done a fantastic job. And we appreciate it.
All right, transportation and bus maintenance.
Enough for timing.
Yeah, that was good.
Wow. Well, good evening, board, fellow members, audience. This summer, plan is to go ahead and get the oil changed in the rest of the school vehicles. We'll have to have the buses done also this summer to get that done, and we will. I did go to South Dakota last Thursday, picked up the bus and brought it back Friday, so the bus is here if anybody wants to go out and look at it. So everything came out all right.
Thank you, Ed.
Could I add to that report that one of the things we talked about at our transportation committee meeting back in, February or so, was getting kind of a program for a pre-check, pre-trip inspections, and having one of the mechanics, TJ Byrne, who we do a lot of work with, kind of come in and tell us what to look for, and then getting all of our buses on a maintenance schedule, just so we can kind of keep track of it and plan expenses a little more. And hopefully this summer, Ed and I will be able to get together and kind of get with TJ and do some of that, and get a little more formal protocol of what we're using. So,
Probably the same with the other vehicles too. We're running.
yes,
We're
yep.
running the wheels off those.
Yeah,
things.
we are. Put a lot of miles on them. And so make it easier on Ed and make us be able to kind of plan some maintenance expenses. We'll continue to work on that.
I hate to tell you, Ed, I saw it sitting there, and so I had to run over and make a lap around and make sure that you made it home. No fender benders in there. So I was pleased to see that you made that. Thank you for doing that for us.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, principals reports, Mr. Cook.
Okay, I was gone last week to my granddaughter's graduation. I'm going to 3.9 grade point average. Yay. Anyway, so real quick, enrollment. 2024-25 school year is officially done. The elementary students were involved in a large variety of activities at the end of this year. I kind of lost, I apologize, I kind of lost count, lost track of some of them. But anyway, the enrollment or the attendance went down slightly, but our enrollment has gone up. And then I'm going to interject something. We're up to 61 kindergarten kids. So just keeping that in mind. Want to thank everyone for their efforts towards Ag Day. It was an excellent day with many events related to agriculture and its benefits. But I think the funnest one was the electrical demonstration. Want to give a shout out to all the high school students. Thank you for what they worked or how they worked with the K-5 students. The students were engaged throughout the day, and thank you to Mr. Larson and Mr. Gauser for the excellent lunch and the leftovers, by the way.
That's a secret.
And I want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Larson for all of her efforts for that day, so thank you very much. Summer clubs started today. They were well attended. Oh my God, they were well attended. A lot of kids. And also there were over 100 lunches given in the summer lunch program in the park. So that looks like that'll be fairly successful this year. Students finished their year with an award ceremony. 3 kids were the winners of 3 different bikes. And I hope they were happy because I was the one that had to go shopping and never send me shopping anywhere. And the other thing is the Legion, they presented to a deserving 5th grader citizenship award. But I really wanted to call this one out because this was actually determined by the efforts of the students themselves. So that student won that award based on how the other students felt about their actions this year.
Yeah. And I would just extend thank you for the Ag Days and for keeping that going for so long. And everybody really appreciates that.
Well, I couldn't do it without the support of the administration and farmers and ranchers and businesses from this community, because there's no money that comes from our fund, our general fund. It is all supported by community. And so the thanks really goes to them.
Mr. Rowe?
Our eighth grade awards night was a success. Thank you to Mr. Brakefield and Mr. Noyes for coming and helping with that. And once we do that, that's kind of the wrap to that middle school part of those students' academic career, and we send them off to high school and just really appreciate all the work of the staff that helped make that happen. It's a night that takes a lot of, there's a lot of work that goes into that. And we wouldn't have it without some staff members that are willing to put all of that together. So I really thank them. Staffing changes, I'll talk a little bit in a minute about some in-district transfers. I think in the middle school, we're going to be able to pretty well maintain the schedule that we have, which is big because as we try to work with the high school on that, we try to get as little shifting as we can because there's a huge domino effect with that. So that's good news. There are some needs still in the middle school, and as we look through our special education caseloads, those numbers, as they shift, the needs of paraprofessionals, the needs of special education teachers change a lot, and that's something we're going to have to really take a close look at. We have our middle school special educator right now also has kind of taken on over the last few years at her choosing to really implement a quality life skills program for students, basically K-12. So we're trying to find some ways to alleviate that for her and make her caseload a little more manageable. Unfortunately, special education teachers are very much at a premium. There's not a lot of them out there. And of course, as you guys have heard me say many times, money's at an even bigger premium. So it's a hard fix, but we will make sure we have everything in place. And it's hard to do at the end of a year because if there's one area that really can change drastically over the course as students move and transfer in is that need for extra classroom support for students. And we never, it can change in a hurry in a day. So as students come in and out. So that's something we'll keep a close eye on as the next year gets ready to roll and we're able to kind of go through the new enrollments that usually occur in August. And then we have a principal transition coming up. Been keeping in contact with Mr. Irvin. He's very excited. Been keeping him in the loop and some of the decisions that we make in the middle school. And he's obviously finishing up his contracted duties in Havre. And just really excited, and I'll obviously work with him in any way I can to make it a successful transition. And I know he's going to certainly, I've visited a lot with the middle school staff, and it's for as long as I've been there, sometimes you do get in a little bit of a rut in what you're doing. And I think it's great to get somebody with the experience that he has and be able to maybe bring in a new perspective and new ideas. And I know that they will be very open to any slight changes that he makes, and just really excited to have him and to work with him as he gets set to take over. That is it.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it until you started talking, but we should have probably had a confetti gun or something to go off for your last board meeting.
Oh,
And that's been way more difficult than I imagined, especially as we got to not going to the last board meeting as principal. But just, the principal job is really time consuming, especially right at the end of the year and all that wrap up stuff. So I'm excited to hand that off to somebody else and be able to focus a little more on some of the things I'm doing with the superintendent's job. So, and it's nice to know you're going to be in good hands. So
Well, thank you for all those years. And
certainly.
I know you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's been good. And that staff over the years has been fantastic to work with.
No school going.
I'm just about there.
He's actually skipping class.
I am skipping class tonight.
Any questions, comments?
I want to say one thing. Brad Cherry did pull out the impossible to hire a band teacher.
There you go.
All right, Mrs. Evans.
All right. So since we last met, we did wrap up all of our postseason activities and just a couple of congratulations shout outs to state track and state tennis teams. We ended up with 2 state champions in individual events, Caitlin Noyes in the long jump and Kyla Meisinger in the 2 mile. And the girls team took 2nd overall. That is a phenomenal achievement. Third. Oh, I said 2nd. 3rd. I was thinking divisionals. 3rd. All right, that's okay. Still 3rd place at state's fantastic. And then we also had our tennis team perform very well. We had a young sophomore doubles team who placed 4th at state. So that was all great. They all represented us very well. And as always, class act group of young people. So that was really fun to see them finish all those up. We too wrapped up high school with Q4 assembly, graduation semester, the end of the year, all of those things. We had a great Q4 assembly. A lot of it's geared to saying goodbye to our seniors, awarding a lot of their honor cords and other awards that they received before they go on to graduation. We had a fun grad walk as usual. That's become a good tradition. The elementary grad walk, everybody enjoys that as well. And then graduation was great. I want to thank everybody for all of their help with graduation. It was a really neat ceremony and very enjoyable for everyone. Lots of compliments on how graduation went. And as a semester, the students finished strong all the way around. Grades were good, academics were good. For the most part, discipline wasn't too bad. A few things here or there. They get a little wily in the spring, but other than that, it was okay. So always just really proud of the high school staff and the high school kids, and that was a nice finish to the school year. We had fun last day as well. High school staffing and some thank yous. Obviously, we all know we had a great retirement party for our 5 folks that were leaving us. It turned out very well. It was very fun and just huge appreciation. There was a whole crew of people that worked on that. So thank you to everybody who worked on that. I think it came off really well, good attendance, and they were pretty pleased to be sent out that way. So that was really fun. And just for me personally, Wanda and Jill, I've worked with so closely over the last 11 years, and I just deeply appreciate both of them. I will miss them both. They have brought so much to the environment, the culture of our high school, and I just want to thank them for everything they ever did, as well as all of the other districts that's leading us to Jim and the elementary teachers, Ann and Chris, everybody. So just thank you to everyone. Hopefully later on in the meeting, we will get the high school staffed. I'm kind of very excited about that with all the positions we had open, and we have some really great candidates to be recommended. So hopefully we're going to end up with a full staff by the end of tonight. That'll be great. We too are working on registration and master class schedules. Obviously, the master class schedule is sitting tight for a minute until we know exactly what we're going to end up with, but we have a draft going already. We're looking at, last year we, for the first time, instead of trying to do registration at the end of the year, which never works just because of this reason, not sure what classes are and what our schedule looks like, and how setting up a bunch of schedules that are going to get changed at the last minute doesn't work at all. So it actually worked fairly well to do that registration right before school starts in August. And we're going to try that again this year. We're thinking about tech days. We most teachers utilize those for PIR, and those who don't, we can maybe trade out some PLC time, but kind of doing another registration with the 10th graders to the 12th graders. We've already met with the incoming freshmen and did an individual survey of what their elective area choices would be, and Mr. Schneckham's going to build their schedules coming in. Because really, they have 5 set classes anyway. There's just a couple that can ebb and flow. So we're hoping, the poor freshmen after that registration day, are so stressed out, and then their schedules change, and it's just been a mess. So we keep trying to find better ways to make all of that happen. So it's less traumatic for all involved, including us. And them for sure, because they get pretty wound up. So I think it went really well. They seem like a good bunch coming in. We're excited to welcome in the incoming freshmen. We're working on handbooks. Actually, last couple PLC days, I worked with the high school staff on coming up with some proposals and some different things, and it sounds like we're going to cover those in July. So we'll look at those changes. I'll solidify some of those. Maybe looking at the cell phone policy again, and just a few other handbook items for the high school. Not too many changes, so things seem to be flowing pretty well. And upcoming activities, I just sat down for about an hour and a half to put in all of the fall sports games. So we're there. We're scheduling for next year already.
Sherry, I know you mentioned it last month, I think, but I don't know if the meet was completely over when the board last met, but I think we had a pretty good finish at state golf also.
Oh, yes, I can't remember. If we were
That
done.
was, yeah, it was right in the middle. I think the
So-
board meeting
I
was
think
right. in the middle.
so. I think you're right. Yes, we did. We had a great state golf. Jaslyn, sorry, too many jazzes. Jazz, I'm just gonna say jazz. Jazel Reagan, medaled at state with the 12th place finish. That's huge as a sophomore. So we're really happy. Huh? Why did you not clue? That was divisional. See, I get all my divisional. That's why I try to write it all down. Sorry. 9th place finish at state. Top 10. Let's say that. I said the top 10. So yeah, we're very, very proud of her for that too. It was fun. And I from what I heard, no grizzly bears on the course. I think that's what I said last time. No reports of grizzly bears on the course at Shelby yet. So yeah, no, kids did well this year. It was a fun year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Comment?
Yeah, just again to highlight Coach Hazelin and Jesse, just to watch them at work and to see her confidence grow throughout the season was amazing. It was just an amazing thing, and they should be commended for that. So I really appreciate them so much.
Mr. Rock, Superintendent.
Okay, first, I just want to acknowledge, a very tragic situation in our district, and I just want to say that if there's times maybe that make you proud to be from Townsend, and it's when you see the community support and the love that they show for the people in our community, and I think that's awesome. And obviously, Martin family's going to need support going forward, and I just don't know that there's a better community around to do that. And our staff and the people involved with our school can't be thinking any more about it. So, as Sherry said, with our retirements, it was a great night out at the fairgrounds for their retirement party, and we've acknowledged those people, and we're really going to miss them. And it's just when you have people in your district that come and stay that long, and the amazing thing about all of those people were they don't just have all those years of education, but they have them here. They came here and they stayed here, and that's awesome. And they're a big part of this. It's change is sometimes just different, and it's going to be different. There's some big shoes to fill. As we started out this summer, the civil rights report was it's something that we have dealt with for I don't even since January. I don't wish anybody ever having to do that because not fun. It got sent back to us. And we had literally one change, I think. It took, once we were able to follow the pages and pages of directions, it took about 30 seconds.
We never
but-
changed anything.
Yeah, we just resubmitted it and they said we were good. So that report is done. But that is, that is a very, very comprehensive report. And thank you to those two over there for helping with that. 'Cause that's definitely a
At one
team
point, we were
effort.
all in Steve's office and Brad like, how many administrators does it take down? I'm reading the directions he's writing, all it was.
Something we need to consider is a summer county transportation meeting. Talking with Jeremy Rice. I'm not sure what the timeline on that is. And that's a meeting that historically can be very difficult to put together because we have to have a lot of different representatives there. It's not just us. So as we get that, and is that generally, Mr. Noyes, is that generally the full board or just the?
Just transportation committee.
Okay, so the transportation committee will participate in that, and that's one that where we discuss routes and have to get all of that set from a legal standpoint. So I will reach out to the people that need to know and see when we need to get that meeting scheduled, but it will occur, generally occurs in the summer. And also our gym sound systems. We've been working on trying to get the sound in there. If you were at either of the graduation ceremonies, I think it was significantly better this year. Ton of thanks goes out to Roger Flynn, who gave a lot of time to come in. And after the concerts, last year, he offered to help us a little bit this year. He came in and kind of went through our system and how to get it functional for what we needed. And Joe Gill, one of our tech people, helped him a ton with that. But we are searching. So we've had both Roger and the person from Butte that originally put in that sound system in the stage gym come and look through it and kind of make some recommendations as to what we need to make it a better system for when we have things like concerts and graduation. We have also, we're working on the new gym, the old gym, the 63 gym, which, that's sound is not the thing that's Jim's known for, but we have some quotes working on getting those refined a little bit, and we're searching for some funding for that, and we think we may have some ways to help offset that. And I know Sherry's been working on some grant things to try to see if we can get some relief from some groups around town for that, and hopefully that pans out. But
I finished that today and hopefully we'll get.
very good, thank you. Our summer food service program is up and running. I think it's very well attended. The requisitions and budget process is really hitting high gear now. And what we're trying to do is, in fact, Courtney has had a training this week in Butte, and it's both the annual MASBO, which is the Association of School Business Officials. It's a great training. She's also attending a couple days of the new clerk training. And so when she gets back, we're gonna be able to do a lot of work on our budget. And our goal was to try to order as many of this year's requisitions out of the funds we have. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to order them all. So after July 1st, we'll be ordering the remainder of them. But the fiscal year closes on June 30th, and that's when all of our transferring and all of our, we kind of, we're looking forward to it because I think we operated for 3 months with no clerk. Courtney has done an unbelievable job of kind of digging out a hole that I kind of helped put her in by just randomly paying bills as they came in, getting all that sorted out. And I think she's kind of like, I know I am, to July 1st, when we are kind of starting over on the fiscal year and are able to get everything cleaned up and know exactly where everything is, and then coming out of our system, which will be very helpful, and I think very helpful. And I really appreciate her being willing to go and be away from her family for a week to get the training she needs. Summer maintenance work, later in the meeting, we have a hiring for the head maintenance, but Mr. Riddle, with him retiring, we're in a pretty good situation right now where John Menard's being able to work with him and get some training on our systems and all of those things that we need. And they're kind of scheduling their maintenance work they've already got going on the carpets. I was with Mr. Riddle when he made a call on the gym floors today to try to get those done. We'd like to pay for those out of this year's. And again, we're not taking those down to we're not sanding, we're going with, we had kind of agreed we were going with an in-between solution to help with the finish, and then every other year go with the more expensive option for those. As far as budget things go, we're working on, our school nurse has been invaluable to us. It has been really impressive to watch Cammie Simmons work. And it's not just a position of school nurse. Cammie's done an exceptional job with that position. But Mr. Cook and I actually, so we lost funding through a grant that we no longer get. And in trying to get some of that restored through the remainder of this year, we worked with the state in trying to basically, we had to make a case as to how the school nurse impacted our school and impacted attendance, impacted performance. And it really wasn't hard to do. We started looking at the people where she spends her time and how it's impacted their school experience. So it's a very valuable thing to have, and we're turning over every stone we can to try to find a way to fund that for next year. And as far as staffing needs, I think you'll see later in the agenda that we have made a lot of progress on that, and some significant progress since we put this out. Also, I know Bulldog Bus Lines, and talking with, we contract out our services with Jeremy Wright's, our route services. And it's a good contract. He's been very good to work with. He's made the request to have that contract be paid out through 12 months rather than 10, which is a very reasonable request. And part of that, when that contract was made, we didn't go into June and we didn't start as early in August. So for his operating costs, it'd be the exact same amount. There is absolutely no change to what we'd be paying. We'd just be doing it in 12 installments. So I think it's just a little bit of a contract change without any change to the amount or any other terms of it. And we're going to try to make sure that that happens so that he can continue providing the service he does. Finally, so have been working with some people to look at our social media policy and just sort of after just the whole issue of it and how we can maybe strengthen that up. And I'm hoping maybe over the course of the next couple months be able to recommend to the board as we look at that a little stronger school social media policy that does a little more to protect the district, protect the people in the district and the students and everybody. So hopefully, I think there's the potential possibly for some positive changes with that. That's something we're going to try to do. So that is my report.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Jason.
Brad, two things. One is I would echo your comments on the school nurse. That it's been invaluable, and we love having that. I love having that. It was even evidence at Ag Day. I had the opportunity to help out a little bit, and just having staff with the expertise to be able to address issues, that was fantastic. So I really hope we can find a way to make that happen. The other question I had was on the sound systems related to the gym. Didn't Tarrington earmark us a check for about $15,000 for a new system, or was that something we put more towards just general operating expenses? Thank you.
So that is something we looked into, and there was discussion of that, but I don't believe that ever actually came to fruition. They did provide a ton of we'll have to look back at some things, but when we made that contract, I know they were going to look at it and had mentioned that they could help, but the money that they gave was for some other things, and we did not ever really move forward with the sound system. But that is something we could possibly reach out for some assistance with. And I don't know if, was that last year that we or has it been a couple of years since we renegotiated that with them? But yeah, we can reach out to.
Yeah, I have to look back at the agreement, but I could have sworn the contract had a earmark for sound systems, but maybe that went into just general operating expenses for lights and other things we put in there.
Okay, yeah, we will check on that because there was discussion about that.
I thought so too.
So yes,
Yeah,
good,
I'm not
yeah.
sure. When we were looking into it, they actually had somebody come out and go through with Joe and Luke and make, try to look at what the job would look like, and then we could never get anybody to follow up with us and get us a bid or something. What would this look like to fix it? We could never get any follow through. So that's what we finally have now from other people. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely worth looking into for sure.
And Nancy Marks and her organization has helped a ton with that too. And she's the one that kind of got us hooked up with the company out of Butte to do that. So I'd like to thank her too.
Committee meetings. Other than one you already talked about.
No, I don't. There was a library board meeting, but I think we will talk about that. It's an action item later.
Okay. Accreditation report.
So 1.6 in your packet is our accreditation report from OPI. And again, thank you to Steve and Sherry for just a lot of work on that. The good news is we are fully accredited, so that's always a plus. And they have changed the cycle on this from yearly to people in our region it's good for 3 years now. And we do have some areas that we could certainly use some improvement in. And we've got plans and have worked with OPI on how we can improve in those areas. And they actually make recommendations on the report. And one of those is just most of those happen. We just are unable to document them as well. And one of them is Indian Education for All, and showing documentation of doing it more consistently through the grade levels in our district. And that was one of the big areas. But
Was that the one where we received 1 of 4 points in?
no, that one was on our, I believe that was Jay, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah, which is, Jay is the Indian Education for All. The other one was needing to reestablish a professional development committee made up primarily of teachers. And so that's something we'll work with the union on to do in the future.
You were kind of doing that though, weren't you, in middle school?
Yeah, we do that, and I think it's something that was done. I just don't know that it was, I don't know that we ever did it formally, like through a formal committee of doing that and being able to show that. And some of the things that so an interesting part of doing this was going back and just being able to find all of the proof of what we did. There were some old board agendas we had to submit, committee meetings, even staff meeting things that we had to be able to submit to them to show that some of these things had occurred. So it was a good lesson for us on making sure that everything is kind of in a place you can find it.
Yeah, well, and like some of the lower scores, which were still sufficient, that was the only reason why we did do
Yeah.
the things. We just don't necessarily have exactly what they are looking for documentation.
Yep.
So it was a good lesson for us. It's like, well,
Yeah.
let's do better at that.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
would it be possible, like in a future curriculum meeting, to just kind of give an update or an overview of some of this, as well as far as the plans for change or plans for improvements, or however you guys feel like you need to address those things?
Certainly. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, in some of those areas that we could use some improvement. We will do that.
Okay, auditing services agreement.
So 1.7 is just sort of, we've used the same company, Denny Downing and Associates, for some time. It's very hard to get a company that works with you the way that they do. We've been very fortunate and have a great relationship with our auditor. That company is kind of morphing into another one, and they gave us the opportunity to sign on with them, and it's actually our specific auditor that will now be in charge of that. And so that's just the agreement for continuing our auditing services in the way we've done. And that's something that is required by law. And I did not realize that until recently that it can be quite a challenge to find auditors that do school auditing. So we're fortunate to be able to continue that relationship with our auditor who's guided us through it. And the auditor doesn't just come through and hammer you on what you didn't do. There's a lot of education that goes along with it and really goes a long way towards keeping us on the right side of the law, as well as providing advice when we have some things where we're not exactly sure how money should be spent, what it can be spent on, and our auditors are a resource for that. So happy to be continuing with Jonathan Marks, who we have worked with.
Cover the bus purchase update, or you got more?
Nope, you can see it out the window, it's here. It was not here when I did that, so I was gonna explain where it was. So, glad Ed found it somewhere. I was a little concerned. I will tell you, it was, if there was nothing else, I had told Courtney, if nothing else goes right, we're gonna go out and just look at that bus we bought. And then they called and said, your check's not here. Are you gonna pay for it? And we actually they wanted that we sent it certified. We were able to track it. It got to Pennsylvania and never got anywhere else. And to my knowledge, it's still in Pennsylvania. But, so we had to cancel that and then overnight another check to them. And Ed was able to get a bus. So that's good. He'd have been mad if he'd have driven to South Dakota and it wasn't there because we didn't pay.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
so we have a bus.
All right. In-district transfer.
So we have some in-district transfers, and by our collective bargaining agreement, there's a process for that. And we went through that process. And as we had a vacancy, Denise Baucom chose to, and this is not an action item because it's not an actual hiring, but she chose to return to the middle school classroom when Andrea Tolis interviewed. She did not have the, as a she didn't meet the window for an in-district transfer. So she interviewed for the job, went through the process that all other candidates did. Accepted the high school social studies job, which will do an excellent job, which then opened up a middle school vacancy and allowed Denise Bachman to put in for an in-district transfer to that area. And then in turn, that opened up a band position, which you'll see later on the agenda. We feel confident we have filled successfully.
MTSBA board training consideration. So this is something I've added. Just as boards change and as we grow and develop and try to become better leaders, MTSBA typically puts on some leadership trainings during the summer. I was just about to send out, invites to the whole board, hoping we could go together to one in Helena, and then they canceled it because there just wasn't enough attendance, I guess. But they came back and, they offered, an in-person training here in the district. So I would like to propose that, to the board. If we could find some time this summer, I think it would be, good for all of us to revisit some things about, why we're here and our roles and responsibilities. Obviously, there is a cost to it. They sent me that today. A 4-hour training is $750. They also do, I think it would be a 2-day training, so between 4 and 8 hours for $1,500 and some travel expenses. I guess to me, the important thing is, finding a time that everybody is able and willing to do it. So that's why it's on there just as an informational item tonight. I'd just like to gather some input. If everybody thinks there's value in that and would like me to pursue it, then I will try to get some dates available from them and then mingle it with our dates and see if we can't find a time that would work. I think it would be good for us as a board to go through that. I know Adam is a new trustee. There would be a lot of new information and introduction to him. And, even for us, Vanessa and I, Chase, everybody, I think it would be good. So if everybody's on board with that, I will investigate dates and try to put that together. Absolutely. Okay. Jason?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Mr. Myers. The only comment I had is the one we did 2 years ago. I don't know so much as a training as a facilitator, but maybe helpful just to kind of get the facilitator if possible.
Okay. I will work on that and we'll try to get some dates thrown out that might work for everybody. I guess based on my own schedule, it'll probably be in July when we try to do that in between July or late. Yeah, pretty much July. Okay, thank you for that. Next item, Student Service Committee, Mr. Ross.
So we have a student services committee that looks at activities and basically anything related to student services. There are 2 board members on that committee. There's been a request from that committee to have for our basketball coaching hiring to kind of use that committee as the interview committee. And I just wanted that would be a departure from what we have practiced all year in hiring our teachers. And I just want to make sure that, or I guess I just want to introduce that idea and have a discussion about that and whether, make sure that's the route we all agree would be best. And I've expressed my concerns to the people on that committee. And I guess my biggest concern is I am certainly not opposed to any type of committee for hiring. I think can be very valuable. I guess my concern is and again, I am probably, if anything, I probably am too much on the sports side of things. I'm very pro sports, but I worry about the committee using that approach when we don't use that for our hiring of our teachers in the classroom. And that might be something that in the future we want to do. You know, that, and then looking at some situations with when you have board members on there, the posting of those meetings and being open to the public and all of that can be, you know, can get into some tricky things. So I'd be open to any conversation about that as we try to, one of the things, just so everybody's aware, it is certainly a priority to try to get those positions filled. We want to, because, you know, I don't know if a lot of people realize the summers in basketball are a valuable time. They're a very busy time. And I'd like to get somebody, I'd like to get those positions filled as soon as we can. So if there's any thoughts or,
Yeah, I think I'll add, you know, again, boards, different boards around the state, they do have hiring committees where 2 board members sit on that hiring committee. But they use that committee for every interview, for every position, for everything that's hired. And I think this situation where we're isolating one thing in one position, or maybe it's 2 positions, boys and girls, but I think it sends the wrong message, especially in light of recent events. I think if the board wants to go the route of having a hiring committee, then, you know, I think we need to add that as a standing committee item to where they do participate in everything, especially teachers. You know, currently, you know, the full board sits in on the superintendent as, you know, the hiring committee for that position. But, I think, you know, for recommendations to come back, maybe possibly before the committee, before they come onto the board, I think, you know, there's probably some merit in looking at something like that. But just creating a one-time thing to hire, you know, 2 coaches positions right now, I don't think it is advisable for this board at this time.
I would echo those statements, and I do echo some of Brad's concerns. You know, it is very common for many districts to have a board member to sit on, you know, depending on how big their board is. Obviously, smaller schools sometimes only have a 3-person board, but that isn't unusual. It does open up some, you know, thoughts of that, how those meetings have to be conducted differently than if they were just, you know, general in-house interviews like we've always done. So it does open up some different things that way. I do wholeheartedly agree. You know, if this is a process that the board wants to look at changing, it should be across the board as well. It should be consistent and fair across the board with whatever we do with everything else. So I completely agree with that. And I feel like, you know, again, you know, the people who are in the positions that are experts in the school, that are doing the interviewing and the hiring and the recommending, I feel like it's just really important that stays as, you know, school admin staff, things like that as well, because I think we just open up too many things if outside folks are involved. I just think that's our business. We need to run our business, you know, as we should with the people that are in those positions to do those kinds of recommendations, hiring, interviews, those things, because they're trained for it. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing right front is, you know, if we go that route, that just, you know, the time commitment to do that becomes very difficult to accommodate all the, I mean, we know how much trouble we have just creating or getting all the board together for a committee meeting as it is. You know, they do hiring, most of those interviews are conducted during the day, during business hours. And I visited with, I don't remember if it was Kevin McDonald or Sean Scott, you know, when I came on board, we had discussions about this too. And again, it was just, you know, that is a major time commitment if you're going to have trustees that are willing and able to be on a hiring committee during the times of days and all the times of the year that comes about. And again, we just, you know, I know this came to Mr. Rock. He wanted some board input on it. It's not an action item. If the board wants to create a hiring committee, then we'll have to bring that back, before the board, just like we did last month when we did all the other committee assignments. So he was just looking for some input and guidance, I guess. On that.
Since we're going out in public, I want to convey, and again, and Brad fully acknowledged, and that's why it took me so long to respond when you first gave me.
Correct.
Because I thought about it, Sherry acknowledged, here's the thing, and it goes back to, I know I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again, because a lot of people are watching, a lot of people are listening, is the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. And that's true. And so that the suggestion from me was basically trying to come to the table is what can we do different to mitigate and prevent the discord that we just all experienced? What can we do that's different? Because what happens is this would be a strategic, in my mind, possible solution is we don't need to have it across the board. Whenever we have a going concern in any particular activity that we can initiate, yeah, this is a going concern. And how is that defined? Well, just replay the last 2 months. Okay, we've got a situation. So let's take it up a step, a higher level, and let's bring 2 board members into the process. And by doing that, it actually relieves the burden and responsibility on the administration, because now we got board members that are tied in to the solution. Meaning if it goes south, we're part of it now. And so, no, hey, let me finish, please. All right. And again, this is outside the box. This is done in other industries. So that's the reason, the logic behind this is to become part of the solution, to become part of the responsibility and that burden, especially when things haven't been going well with it. The other thing is, and this is other constituents have brought to me after last meeting, is it doesn't do us any good when our athletic director makes the statement, I know nothing about basketball. He said that to me personally, and now he's went out in public and stated it. That does not give our public confidence that the right person gets hired in the first place when he's on the committee. And by gosh, if you're the AD, you need to better start learning about basketball to get good at, because people are counting on you as part of that hiring process. So that also played into my part of why we should have a 5-person board. The other key component of that is we're inviting one person from the community who has a myriad of experience in basketball, proven here in Broadwater County, for the whole purpose of why our kids, number one, we want to inspire, we want to excel. Let's put our best foot forward. We got to try something different. I want to give you and Mr. Odell a break from that pressure of finding the right person.
But that's our responsibility and our job, and we're trying to do it.
So
So my only comment is the board has final say on anybody that's hired. So nobody gets hired without the board.
that's correct. That is correct. And this is just a 5-person panel. The panel could come to the board just like any other time, and who knows? Doesn't mean they're going to get hired. You're absolutely right. This is just trying to be part of a solution of an ongoing issue, because this isn't just 2 months ago. This is, how many years have we endured this kind of stress over a program? It's been too long. And so, and here, let me back up on that too, is where I could see this committee going is what happens is these parents and these community members, it's a powder keg because they have no escape. And so they have to sit there and bite their tongue the whole season long. If they had a student services committee to go talk to and just have someone listen to them and air out, yes, there's a chain of command, I don't understand what you, that's what I'm talking about, is if you give just an opportunity, a different avenue outside of the normal process, I think it would solve problems there, so it doesn't even arise to the situation that we've seen the past couple years. Again, the whole purpose is to relieve the stress and pressure from our administration, because then you got two board members that are part of that team saying, hey, we care about your thoughts, we want to listen to you, and here's the reason why, here's the big picture. And just listen to them. And I think that will help prevent a lot of issues in the future. The whole purpose, let's try something different. Let's try it. Worst case scenario, doesn't work, right? Are we out anything? It's not going to get any worse. That's my whole thing.
And I understand, like I said, I'm not opposed to a committee of hiring. I do, and I've been very clear with you what my concerns are with it. And if there is going to be a committee, I think it needs to be understood that those committee members, I want to make sure I say this right. You are giving input. The people on those, the decision has to lie with, well, by statute, it has to rely with me to make a recommendation. So, and obviously, I don't think it's a case of, hey, we got 5 people, 3 of us want this one, you're outvoted. I think I'm not opposed to taking input from anybody on any matters. I think that's important, but I guess I need to be clear that it is the administration's job to bring the recommendations forward. And if there's input from others, that's fine.
No, absolutely. I fully concur with that, Brad. And my other agenda behind this is I want to get to know Sherry better. I want to get to know John better. And I want to give them the last 20 years that I've had in my brain of my experience of officiating Division II basketball and Frontier Conference basketball. I want to be able to share some of the things I've seen from other coaches so I can give them more tools in their toolbox. So next time we have to go through this, they have those tools.
Can I ask a question? I'm a little confused by this. Is it strictly a committee that's only formed during the hiring process of coaches? Or is it a committee that is another chain of command that you have to go through during just basketball season? I'm kind of confused about what the committee's purpose is.
So, at this point, no, it is not a, I guess, to be clear, at this point, we don't necessarily have a committee. So there is no formal process for it. I think what Mr. Reagan is alluding to is deferring or spreading out that blame of who's going to, of the person you hire, whoever we hire, I'd say it, but it's like, I'm not going to be blamed for you doing this. No, I know that, Chase. What I'm saying is you referenced people going to the committee.
That's if this works out well,
So,
it can be a proof in concept. Then we can take it to the next step. Okay, what are issues are we seeing here? And we can continue to build it, refine it, make it better. Student Services Committee, whatever is needed based on the circumstance. But no,
But
let's
the
go.
original intent is only during basketball coaching hiring.
No, it's just
Okay.
this time because we have a going concern,
Okay,
right? And that's why we're trying to bring a different creative solution to the table. This time only. And
Is
see
there
how
not
it
a
goes.
standard that needs to be followed for these committees and the creation of them?
Can
So
I-
that like Mr. Reagan, are you going to sit on every single hiring committee?
No,
Does that
this is
be
part of the
admitted?
student services committee
Yes.
specifically to under athletics.
So are you advocating for a subcommittee or the actual creation of a full committee?
No, this is just this one-time thing.
Okay, that's
One
not.
concern.
One-time thing, you're
Mr.
saying just for this year?
And what's your name, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I'm Rhiannon Olson.
Rhiannon Olson?
Rhiannon Olson, REHANNAOLSON.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cook.
Okay, I'm going to put my 2 cents in about committees in general. It's been my experience over many years that the board is responsible for the governance of a school district, okay? And part of that governance responsibility is to put, and again, it's an organization that's heavily dependent upon personal interactions. And when you put a lot of people together where 80% of the action is interactions, you're gonna run into disagreements, you're gonna run into differing opinions, you're gonna run into this is right or this is wrong. And there's got to be a responsible process for solving those concerns. There is a complaint procedure that goes up, that can go all the way up to the Board of Trustees. But the Board of Trustees is a supervisory or a governance organization. And when you start, I guess I'm going to say that what's the purpose of the administration except you put the organization with the administration in place to make recommendations on how to run the programs that best suit the kids, best suit the students in general. And you have to trust in that administrative and that teacher, the people that work within that organization. When you start involving board members in committees per se, and again, this is a personal opinion, but it doesn't work very well because then the opinions of the board carry more weight. I know maybe you disagree with me, but they carry more weight than normal because those people sit on the board. So the board should act as the governance board. You should hear or give your opinions or act on your opinions as a board. In fact, I'm going to read policy 1240, the duties of individual trustees, and the one statement in here that catches and probably should be looked at is trustees shall not assume responsibilities of administrators or other staff members. It's written right there in policy 1240. What's our purpose if the board is going to be involved in actions like this? Is I guess what I'm trying to say. They should.
Why do we have any committees then?
Exactly. Right? Why don't you let the organization do the work that you expect them to do, and then you deal. I've historically been told we got one employee, the superintendent, and the superintendent is responsible for telling us. And I'll tell you what. He tells me what to do. I will do whatever he tells me what to do in this organization. If I got a recommendation for a hire and he says, no, we're not going to go that route, I'll say, yes, sir. Just like any other, like that's the way it works. That's the way it should work. And then he brings that recommendation to the board. You guys have every right to act on it as a board. You have every right to consider your opinions then. But when you start dealing with committees, those opinions happen before the board. Okay, so I'm gonna get off my soapbox now.
So my concern with this is that whatever route we go, there's just full transparency as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. If it is something that is outside the norm of what we do, and of course there are some, we have to, with everything we do, we got to make sure we're within the legal parameters of everything we do. But I just want to make sure that we're doing something that people know we're doing it, why we're doing it, because it's not the normal way of doing business. And I think that's I think that's hard to argue with, that we want to be upfront about that from anybody. Does anybody else have any input on? Then I know this is not an action item. You know, I want to do, you know, I clearly have an interest in hiring a quality coach. That's something I'm very concerned with. Mr. Cool?
No, I would, this is Jason, I guess I would echo a lot of the comments that have been said on this topic. And what I just appreciate is that this is the forum, right? This is the venue. Nobody's coming at it with malicious intent. This is the opportunity to talk about it, provide, I'd say, clear guidance or direction so that guys not left trying to play the guessing game. This is that forum. This is the open communication. This is the dialogue that needs to happen to discuss any issue. I would also agree with Mr. Cook and his comments about, you know, more day-to-day operations and the recommendation process and the roles and responsibilities of trustees. And I think when it comes to the actual hiring, the approval, I think that's where, you know, personally, it's really difficult to know because we get feedback on all sides of all issues, whether it be teachers, whether it be coaches, even administrators, whatever. We get that feedback, and we're usually only getting like half the story. Does that make sense? We're not getting the full picture. And so it's really hard from the trustees' seat to make informed decisions. And I guess what I'm saying is that it is a faith, it's a trust that we do place to the administration. At the same time, respectfully, we do have a role and we can't disagree, and that's okay. And I think that's what, you know, Brad is trying to get out with his opening remarks, is that it's okay if we disagree. We just need to do it respectfully and tactfully. And I guess so from my perspective, I would agree. I don't like doing things that are probably outside the norm. I don't like being in the meddling of the day-to-day affairs because we can't handle that. We all know how difficult it is to hire and to coordinate meetings and getting people together for meetings. I know how difficult that is, and then oftentimes sensitive these things are. At the same time, you know, in my experience, we've at least had 2 different decisions that the board respectfully decided to disagree with the administration's recommendation. So I think that's okay. It's just how we go about having that conversation in a way that is informed. And that's what I struggle with, is like, I feel like oftentimes we only get half the story and we're trying to make an information decision based off of the feedback we have from all the different venues we get it. And then, but we're not getting the full picture. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't, but that's where I sit anyways. I can see validity in asking the question about how can we do things differently, because that's how I operate. You know, I don't like to be stuck in a rut. I don't like to be, if there's a better way of doing things, I'm fully aware and fully appreciative of trying that out. At the same time, there are statutorily directed and policy directed rules and responsibilities that we all have to follow. And so that's what this venue, that's what this topic, that's what this time is all for. It's all about discussion and trying to collectively come up with the best information to provide going forward.
Thank you.
Roundabout way to say I don't fully discount Mr. Reagan's opinion. At the same time, I also appreciate the role that you guys are entrusted with. But I would ask, whether it be the public or the board or whatever, is that at times we can disagree, and that's okay. And so when recommendations come forward, having as much information possible on those recommendations, and perhaps, you know, Mr. Noyes alluded to it, that it runs through Student Services Committee as it exists today. It's like, here's what we're going with, here's our options, this is what's going to be presented, and that's just an update. That's what it is, and that's okay too. That's where I sit.
Thank you for your input.
And I could give one other example that I know it wouldn't make a difference here, but what if there was over 500 coaching positions? Committee worked very effectively then.
Well, again,
I know, I'm just giving that example, yeah.
but the example isn't fitting the situation. This is a catalyst of a going concern to fix a long-standing issue that dates back 7, 8 years. Okay,
Well,
so
in somebody's opinions, I wasn't here, I don't know much about it, but in opinions, and all I'm trying to say is, that's how school districts work. You have a different opinion, I have a different opinion, I might have different knowledge, maybe there isn't enough knowledge, as Jason Cool says. There's so many variables going on, you gotta trust the system to work for the governance board, that's all I'm saying.
So
So, I don't know, maybe we can take it a different issue because for the student service committee, activities, attendance, discipline, wellness, technology, transportation, that's what the purview of that committee is. One of the public commenters and we've also discussed before is a concern that, I share fully, right? So how does the district proactively address that issue specifically? And I guess display it to the community and to the board and to the district about what we're proactively doing to address that issue specifically. And to me, that falls in student services. So trying to not focus on the controversial basketball situations as is, but I'm just trying to think of like, okay, what are new strategic initiatives that are priorities of the board and these committees that fall under? And, curriculum is another example. We talked about graduation rates. There are things that can be done to look at that. So I just feel like there's opportunity to maybe better utilize that committee. Maybe that's in the end what we're getting at, but just like I said, just trying to think about, apply this situation to other issues.
that's well said. And I guess to Brad, let me throw it back at you, is, again, this is an idea. What would you pose with all that's been said, all that's taken in by everyone's comments? What would you propose back to the board to say, okay, acknowledge the concerns? What can you say, let's do this differently this time?
I would, there's not, somebody said one time to me about, when we talked about the whole coaching situation and it was, I wasn't even a part of that. How, yet I feel like I'm being, like a board member that wasn't on the board, feels like sometimes I think there might be a feeling where you're held responsible for decisions that previous boards made. And, I think that's kind of the same here as I have not, I would say that, my feeling is I got hired in this position for a reason, and that was because I can utilize the administrative staff to help make good decisions and bring forth good recommendations. I think there is definitely some room for input with anything we do. I don't know that anybody, it's certainly not my intention to, rule with an iron fist and what I say goes. I think it's important to listen to input and have that. I just want to, my primary concern with this is I am very, as an educator, I'm troubled a little bit by the fact of doing this for a head coaching position and not for the teaching positions that we're going to recommend later. And I know it's very impractical too. And I think we talked a little bit about that, about how difficult it is to, when we get to this time of the year in the hiring season. I know in the past, we have certainly had committees where people, different people screen applicants, and we do that. You know, we have, you know, I do think there's a way for people to have some input. I don't know exactly what, because I think that's important, whether that's at the board, you know. You do hate to wait till it's at the board level, because then somebody's coming in arguing against the hiring of this individual or that individual, and it creates a lot of animosity. But I, you know, to say that it's, you know, one, I don't know that, I look at our head coaching across the board, and I have a very difficult time saying that we haven't done a good job hiring.
That's not what I'm saying.
You know,
That's not what I'm saying.
no, okay, no, that's, that, no, it just kind of,
I just want
I
to make
thought
sure
that
that
was-
the way I interpret that is, I'm saying that all our head coaches, we have not hired well. That's not the case. So I just,
so we've done a good job in all of them. And I'm just trying to, I know I am, but I'm saying, boy, we've obviously done a pretty good job with some that, you know, I don't know why there's any concern that we wouldn't do a good job here.
so let me pose a solution, because you haven't answered my question. So let me just listen to some of your thoughts. You have a wealth of basketball experience. The new principal that we are hiring also has a wealth of basketball experience, correct? So would you be opposed to both of you being part of that committee with Sherry and the AD?
I do have lots of experience, so, yeah.
Not me, but I'll be a part of it.
No, I am not opposed to,
I just.
like I said, I think, you know, I think it's important to get different viewpoints, which is one of the reasons why I don't, you know, if we're hiring a high school social studies teacher, it's not just Sherry, right? We have all of us do it, so we can have some different viewpoints, because we do have some different viewpoints on what impresses us, what doesn't, things that we heard that might be troubling or concerning. And I don't want anybody to get the feeling that I don't want any input, because I think that's how you make good decisions. I just need to make sure that we are doing it in a way that is transparent, in a way that is, you know, I would like to have it be consistent with what we do. And in a situation like that, I think would be appropriate. Whether or not that individual would be available, I don't know. And obviously, I think the key to this is as a board member, you guys do have final say on anything. And I see Mr. Cool's point that, okay, I'm putting trust, you know, that's not even the right word, but I think he said trying to make decisions with only that viewpoint or that, you know, and I do understand that. It puts you guys in an awkward position to try to make some decisions. So if we, you know, my solution would be, if we are going to have and I know this isn't pertinent right now, but I think this basketball job needs to be done consistently with the way we interview for the next head coaching job, be it the track job, the cheerleading job, whatever it is. I think it needs to be a somewhat consistent process for all of those, if that makes sense. And I say that not because I just think and make it an equitable situation for all of our sports,
And teachers.
I think.
And we are a school. We're not a sports club.
We're not a group of sports team, we're a school. I'm sorry, I'm interjecting, it's been hard to bite my tongue so long, but we
Oh,
have
thank you.
positions that are left every 3 years. Special ed, preschool through 5th grade is a rotating job. No one stays there for the last 3 years, for the last 15. For the last 15 years, teachers have lasted 3 years, and then another position, and then another person. It's my 4th year. I asked Mr. Cook to move, and then talk to others, love the kids, stays longer. But it is a position that is hard to hire. Over 90 positions are open in the state, 5 people graduate. Not once have I heard people from the board say, hey, we need to find someone, we need to put our people on there and look and how can we bring teachers to this position. But sports, which is an extracurricular, that is not the priority of our school, has so much energy. Every month, basketball is 45 minutes to 1 hour and a half discussion, where our teacher hiring is less than 10. This is a problem with priorities.
I don't want to step into that one, but there is, again, the same comments I made earlier about the teaching professions. You know, I personally reached out to individual administrators about community member concerns and my concerns over teachers. I was able to mitigate and work with them. At the same time, there's bargaining agreements set in place and things that the board doesn't have any influence over. And so, without the risk of kind of stepping in the middle of all this, it's in a difficult position for the board to try and make decisions, no matter what it is, educators, activities, etc. Usually with only partial bits and pieces of the information, and we try and string those together to make an informed decision.
I guess, you know, to be fair, is there any other public comment?
I'd like to say something.
I just have one quick thing to say.
As a head coach, as a parent, as a community member, I'm tired of holding my tongue, and if I get fired from being the track coach, then it was meant to be, I guess. But right now, I want to comment on her comment. Good for you. Like this is crazy that every freaking meeting we're talking about coaches. This is not why we're here. We are here for the school. You guys are here to support these teachers, and every meeting, that's what we hear about. Like, I get it. We need to talk about that. We need to take care of that, but it should not be an hour's worth of this meeting. Chase, I'd like to ask you a question. With this committee, what is the process of having a school board member in there? Are you guys going to be a part of that interview?
Would be part of the solution to help try
That's
to do
not what I
something.
asked. That's not what I asked.
Two-
I asked you, are you going to be in the interview?
Yes,
Okay,
two,
that's all I want to know.
two board members, a member from the community, and Sherry and John is what was proposed. But again, that's why we're having this discussion is, if someone's got a better idea, what would you propose?
What would I propose? That the school board doesn't get involved at all. This is why we have this issue. This is why we are here. This is why I'm here. I'm sorry, but I am just so over it, and I'm tired of us coaches getting like challenged on, and especially one that you just named. He's not here to talk about himself or protect himself, but I'm sick of it. I'm just
How are the
sick of it.
coaches being trashed on? That's,
You just said-
you're not being trashed on.
Well, it's what I'm saying,
You
Chase,
guys
is that, why are you just picking basketball? Why am I not? Why is the track not part of that? I'm sorry, I'm just angry. I just want to know what the whole point of this is. Right now, I don't
To
want to
try
be here.
and solve
I do not want to
a
be here, and I have to
problem.
hold myself in right now, and I'm just pissed, and maybe I shouldn't have came. But right now, I want to know what the whole idea of this is right now. Chase, you tell me. So is this committee going to be separate from any other student committee? Are you guys going to interview with the administration? Are you guys going to make,
It would be to recommend to the superintendent who we would like to hire, the 5-person committee to include the administration, and then Brad would take it to the board for the ultimate say.
But that doesn't make sense because they're supposed to bring the recommendation to you guys.
It all goes through Brad. He's the superintendent.
I'm sorry, but I just had to say my 2 cents. I'm really frustrated because I see these poor teachers sitting here trying to do their job, and this is supposed to be about teachers, and I'm just,
Is it supposed to be about teachers or kids?
okay, don't start with me there because I will just go on. Because right now it is about the kids.
Okay.
But these teachers are supporting the kids. And right now, coaches, that's their job. We are here for the kids. Why do you think I coach? That's the main reason I coach.
You do a great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you. But I'm sorry, I'm just really shaking, and I just had to put my sense out there that this is getting out of hand. It needs to be taken care of. I don't know if a committee would be part of that. And I guess my other concern is that committee gonna tell us head coaches what to do? Like, why do we have even head coaches if that's gonna be the point? Like, I don't understand it. I'm furious. I'm sorry. Micromanagement.
Yeah. My one comment is, one thing I'm not hearing is bringing the union into this too. I mean, that's another thing too that has to be taken into consideration as well. You know, if you have a committee that's doing something, and notoriously in the past, we've had been called to help hiring and things like that, and now you're just taking us out of the whole thing. Just doesn't seem like that's a good approach.
I don't know how.
I mean, what I'm saying is, if you're doing such a thing, maybe perhaps if you hire a hiring committee for every position, having a union representative on that committee as well would be a good thing to consider.
Again, I thought it was pretty clear. This isn't every position. This was just proposed for.
But I'm saying, if you're doing that, you should make it all encompassing, all positions, rather than singling out just hiring for coaches and include the union in the process.
Again, on record, the whole intent is to bring a creative solution to an ongoing problem. And so if you fault me for trying to think outside the box to solve issues for our kids, for our coaches that fall into this category, then do so. That's fine. But
I'm not
just-
faulting you at all.
I'm just trying to
saying,
bring
I'm saying that I think that
different
the union should be
perspective
considered as
outlet
part of the committee
that I've
members
had
as well.
success with in other areas. That's all. You know, this is a discussion.
Okay, any other public comment?
So I think thank you, everybody, for your input. And it is, and that's why I wanted to, I want to make sure that when whatever we do, I want to make sure it's very out in the open and people are aware of how we're doing it. And I think, our first, we got to get some candidates to start, and then I guess we'll worry about. But I do want to have something ready to go, because I feel like, right now, you talk about kids, and it's our kids that are missing out. And hopefully we can get a coach in place and a quality coach. We certainly want to hire a quality coach and get our kids what they need so they can get going.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your input. Thank you.
If we
for the
decide we're gonna,
conversation.
change the process, we will bring that back in the form of an action item. Moving on, consent action items, approval of minutes and minutes.
So on the minutes, and again, there's a lot that was said at last meeting. And I guess the one thing is two things. The amount of time and effort that Courtney puts into that's got to be extensive. Very much. First item, can we, all the action items on there, can we actually write them out like she has? That's done perfectly. But for discussions, can we have on the website the recording for the actual meeting and basically have it annotated on the minutes to say, see this website, this file, because, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Because some of the comments captured on there were paraphrased and not in full, not in context. For example, Mrs. Campbell's here, only a portion of her comments were in minutes. And I think her whole entire comments should be put in the minutes. But to do that is going to be extensive. Same way with my comments, it would be extensive. Instead, just annotate what the motions were, what was voted on, who voted for what, and then all other discussion items, comments from the public, see video file on our website at this web address. That would save her hours and it would be most accurate to the public. Accessible, the full story's right there. Because the issue I have with paraphrasing is you can take things out of context more than what's there.
The recording is our legal minutes. So what is here and the reason the timer denoted is we have to give people a reasonable opportunity to not have to watch the whole meeting. So they have to be able to look at these minutes and follow and say, okay, this is the part of the discussion that I want to go watch, which is why the timestamp. So in a way, maybe she is putting too much in there, but people have to have that reasonable expectation so that they don't have to watch the entire meeting. Because the meeting is on there. It is recorded. That is our legal requirement.
So, right, and my issue is if someone doesn't want to watch the entire meeting and they go to a paraphrase, they're like, oh, that was said. That doesn't give an actual representation of full context of the conversation.
Yeah, and that's a good question because Courtney spends a ton. I mean, it is, Sherry did them. It's miserable. And I had that actual same conversation after the last meeting as she was in there transcribing. She flipped on the headphones and spends the better part of a day doing that. And so that's one of the questions at her training she was going to try to get some more clarity on is what, from a legal standpoint, what has to be on there so that, we could maybe streamline that a little bit. I think that's a very good question. I believe if there has to be annotation time on there, which is good. And if you recall prior to, go back and look at some old ones before we had the video, they were actually just very much summaries of what was said.
And that's historically what
right.
minutes are. It's a summary of
so
the action taken and the annotation, and then like reference back to
requirements and with some of the open meeting laws and the videoing of them, there's been some changes, but we will find that out because I agree that there's some the amount of time that she spends could very much be used for something else. And accuracy with any minutes is an issue, So, yeah, we'll look into that for sure. I'm hoping she comes back with some answers to that would help.
These aren't the actual warrants, but I did have some questions on the
Okay.
activities. Is that okay to ask you?
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Yeah. I may not remember off the top of my head, but
Just the big ticket items, the EF educational tours for $42,733.
That's the education first tour. That's a separate account.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not the normal ones, but out of our
yeah.
activity account.
There's
the
a,
kids going overseas next year.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yes.
Yeah,
And we have to run it through the school. It's yep.
so they just made a big
That's-
payment out of that
yes.
account after fundraising to book
Okay.
the tour. Yes,
That's
that's
good.
what that is.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the Harris commercial for $16,000.
Those are our BMO cards are school credit cards that everybody takes. Yeah, we order
Pay for hotels.
everything. We pay for anything, yeah. Anything that requires credit card payment. We use those. So that is the Harris BMO cards. And those get, so if they're on that one, they are out of that's money that came out of activities. So all the, this time of year, what you see on there is the tournaments, hotels, meals, all of those things with it.
Last one, Donkey Sports is for the fundraiser, correct?
Yes.
Do we know what our net amount we fundraised off of that was approximate?
Oh, it was good. I'm trying to remember.
And it's okay, I can get with you after.
Yeah, I'd have to look. It was good. It was very good. It's our major fundraiser for that. So turns out really well.
Okay, is there a motion?
Would you separate out the minutes from the warrants?
Somebody else has.
You're right. Move to approve the minutes from May 13th.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the May 13th meeting as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I don't know on that.
I'll move to approve the warrants and claims as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrants as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Action items, consideration of individual transportation contracts.
So that's just the listing of the families that have submitted the TR4 for individual transportation contracts. That's just something that everybody has to occur at this time of year.
I'll move to approve the individual transportation contracts as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the individual transportation contracts as presented. Discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration K-8 lead secretary / state reporter contract.
And that's just the contract for Allison Ferreira in the office. Her contract is included in the packet at 3.2.
I'll move to approve the K through 8 lead secretary state reporter contract as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the K-8 lead secretary state reporter contract as presented. Is there any discussion?
She does an awesome job. Really happy to have her.
Agreed.
Discussion?
Mr. Rock, does this include a 3% increase like the rest of the?
It does. Yes, and so just I guess a quick, maybe primer refresher for the board. The way the high school and elementary they do not fall under our classified bargaining agreement. So that's why we have to present those contracts separately. But yes, we gave them, we proposed the exact same as everybody else.
Thank you.
Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of high school secretary administrative assistant contract.
So that would be, this contract is, if you remember last board meeting when we approved the hiring of Donna Cutshaw, I explained that her current position is going away. And that was part of our cost saving thing. And so as she took over the high school secretary, a few of those duties that deal with HR and a couple of the other things will move over with her. And so that is why it is labeled as high school secretary administrative assistant.
I'll move to approve the high school secretary administrative assistant contract as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the high school secretary administrative assistant contract as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just a huge thank you to Donna for all of her shuffling roles in the last school year.
Thank you.
We're gonna move her again.
As soon as she learned that.
That's right. As soon as she gets out, we're gonna- Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of school county library budget.
So 3.4 is the school county library budget is put together by our chief librarian, Angela Jono. She is here and said she would love to answer questions about it. So I don't know if you have any questions. I've been through it with her. The library board has already approved it on their end. If there's any questions or concerns.
If not, a motion.
I motion to approve the library budget. A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the school county library budget as presented. Any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of renewal of MSPLIP property and liability insurance.
So that is our property and liability insurance, and I put that on the agenda because I knew any day the insurance proposal will be coming. I think I gave everybody a copy. It came after we put the board book out. That is a major expense for our district. And I'm very happy to say that this year there is, believe it or not, I will fall on the floor, no increase this year for that. So our amount will be the exact same. In fact, I even contacted them to make sure that was correct. So yeah, it's a flat renewal rate this year. And they have been very good for us, but I was very pleased to see that there was no increase. That's, as you know, rare with an insurance company.
Move to approve the renewal of the MSPLIP property and liability insurance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the renewal of the MSPLIP property and liability insurance. Is there discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of high school principal contract.
So the included contract is the result of the negotiations committee working with the K-5 principal.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick, always appreciate the opportunity, as part of that negotiating committee to sit down with each of the principals each year and the clerk, being new with a couple of them this year. We had good discussions, always appreciate the opportunity to get some one-on-one perspective to some things that have, gone on in the year behind us and looking forward to the year ahead of us. All good discussions, appreciate that. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve the K-5 principal contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the K-5 principal contract. Any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Motion to approve the high school principal contract.
So 3.7 is the high school principal contract, same situation as negotiated with the negotiations committee.
move to approve the high school principal contract as presented.
Been moved and seconded to approve the high school principal contract as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just a thanks to Sherry for pulling this off with, their added layer of baseball this year and other responsibilities with the school year being extended by the 4-day week. Just gonna say thank you. I know for those that aren't on the committee, it's helpful probably to know that it is the same reflective 3% increase that others received, just like you said, from a awareness standpoint.
Thank you. Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of district clerk contract.
Same situation with the district clerk. That is 3.8 is her contract.
Move to approve the district clerk contract as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the district clerk contract as presented. Discussion?
Same way, just a huge thank you to Courtney for picking it up and running with it, walking in for a new situation, and also Brad for the support for that. Just want to give her a shout out.
Yeah, she's doing awesome.
Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of allowing board chair to approve remaining June 25 fiscal year claim.
So as I explained earlier, the fiscal year ends June 30th. There's not a board meeting between now and then. One of the things as we get our budget spent down to where we need it, and as we start approving some of those claims that need to be paid, we try to pay basically everything we can prior to June 30th. We, have money left for, and that just simply allows us to do that without having another board meeting to approve all of those.
Do you have an idea of how much surplus we have from last year?
We are probably, and that's one of the things Courtney is working on now, and she's working on doing what we call journal vouchers to some of those funds that were maybe not taken out of exactly the right place. And that's one of the things that she's working on this week. And when she comes back next week, she'll have a much better idea. But we are anticipating very little. The budget was very thin this year. As you guys know, it was kind of drafted on razor thin margins last year. So there's going to be very little carryover. There is some areas where we'll have carryover where it's permitted, where it's some of those things that weren't spent now in the non-general fund areas. And we're hoping to have some to begin ordering supplies for next year out of this year's requisitions. That's our biggest thing is typically it's ideal when you can start doing that this year and you're not hitting your general fund quite so hard right off the bat on July 1st as you're ordering. But Courtney will have some more accurate numbers here next week when she comes back and completes all that.
Do we have like a needs list and it's prioritized?
We do, and that's one of the things we're working on this week is, and most of that is program oriented. We have to make some decisions on what academic programs we're going to be able to afford and which we are not. A lot of those, if you guys remember, we ordered a lot of programs out of ESSER funds for a couple of years, and we were, quite honestly, we were pretty flush with some things that could be spent in certain areas, and those ESSER funds allowed us to buy some things that we knew at the time were not going to be sustainable, but those went away. And we're trying to, we've worked with each of us has worked with the staff in our respective buildings and tried to kind of prioritize those and see how much they're used. But so, yeah, we definitely have a priority list with those. Won't be easy. There's just there's some things that will probably have to go. We're looking at it as the ones that, there's a couple that are going to be required. There's a few things academic program wise and assessment wise that we will have to have either that particular product or one similar so that we can meet all of our assessment requirements. And those will take the first priority. And from there, we start looking at, obviously the consumables that each program uses for reading materials, math, science materials, all of those things that we need to renew. Those are at the top of the list. And from there, we start looking at some of the programs that are basically accessory programs, intervention programs, and things of that nature. So yeah, we have kind of a hierarchy of needs for those.
Thank you, very helpful. Move to approve board chair to approve remaining June FY25 claims.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board chair to approve the remaining June fiscal year 25 claims. Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of InterQuest Detection Canine contract.
So those are the drug dogs that we bring in. We brought them in twice a year. So there are some other options for that. First of all, this company is the top of the line company for doing this. They do not only schools, but they do a lot of work in industries where, in industries outside of education, I guess. Very well-trained dogs, very good to work with. There are some options through our local sheriff's department, or in the past there have been. One of the things that one of the reasons we continue to go with InterQuest is from a legal perspective, it makes it very easy for us, and there's not any that fine line between what law enforcement can do with this, with a student, and what we as administrators and them as their company can do. So generally the way it's worked is when we bring the dogs in, if there is something that needs law enforcement attention, we then contact them. And it's worked well. It's kept us very much on the right side of doing things from a legal perspective. And they've provided really good service for us. So I would recommend we continue with that company.
I'll move to approve the InterQuest Detection Canines contract for the 25-26 school year.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the InterQuest Detection Canine contract for the 25-26 school year. So any discussion?
What's really interesting too is they also detect weapons.
Absolutely.
I did not realize that.
They do.
And that's,
Yeah.
with us losing the SRO and whatnot, I think absolutely this is a must, so.
Yeah.
Hunting season is a nightmare with all the powder on the kids' clothing.
And they are, I will
Really
tell
good.
you.
Storm smells it all. It gets it all.
So one of the things we do, just so you know, is there is one person in the district, I think, that knows. I don't even know that that person knows until about the day of. And that's the only person that knows when the dog's coming. We usually get a text message saying, hey, your dog's going to be here today. And that's when we go. So it's worked really well for us. And again, we're not out to bust people, but what we are out is trying to keep our schools safe and to let kids know that we are keeping an eye on things. It's a good thing. And the dogs, if you're ever around when they work, that's one of the things that's nice with their dogs too, is we can, you don't have to be concerned about them being around kids, which sometimes law enforcement dogs, you got to make sure nobody comes out of the room, and please don't run if you do. But these dogs are impressive to watch work. And in fact, they'll sometimes give some demonstrations for kids afterwards. They're well trained.
Further discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Personnel resignation.
So the first resignation on the list is needs to be rescinded. So if you guys remember, there is by policy, the board doesn't technically need to approve resignations. The superintendent can do it. We kind of left them in there just so that everybody's aware of what's going on. But I did not actually formally act on Mr. Bachum's resignation. His situation has changed a little bit since then, and I am more than pleased to have him continue working with us. So he is hoping to continue working with us. So that one is off the table. The next one is the National Honor Society. And that's Laura Ashman, and that's just a additional payment that she receives as an advisor to the National Honor Society. She's done an excellent job with that, but she's ready to turn it over to somebody else. And then there was one more that I gave you the information on that came in after the packet had gone out, and that would be Jamie Lawson from middle school track position, another position that she's held a while and done a fantastic job with. Hard to replace. And that is it for resignations.
I'll move to accept the resignation of Laura Ashman and Jamie Lawson as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignation of Laura Ashman from NHS advisor and Jamie Lawson, middle school track. Any discussion?
I just wanted to again thank both these ladies for the roles they play, and especially Laura. I mean, I just know working with her for 11 years with Laura, so she's done a fantastic job and runs that very well. I think we've already had some people speak for some interest, and so I know we'll be able to cover that responsibility with other really good people. But I just thank you to Laura for all of her years of putting a lot of effort into that, and all the late nights of cleaning the gym and doing all of those things. So very appreciated. And to Jimmy for her track work.
Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Employment for 24-25.
So I do have a substitute that the information was not available when this went out, and that is Morgan Swainson, who has been teaching here. She has moved on to another line of work, but is still interested in being on our substitute list. The next two, I guess, are actually errors on my part, as those two were approved when we did the certified and classified 2 months ago. And those are the summer recovery program for Brittany Bancroft and the high school counselor's extended contract. I just wanted to make sure those were in there, and it got biased that those were previously approved already. So I don't know if I want to act on those again since they're on the agenda.
Well, we can act on the contracts themselves. The positions were already approved.
Okay. And then 21st Century, I have, I don't know if you want to do the 21st Century in with all those, or,
Let's separate that.
okay.
So a motion for the substitute and the two summer contracts.
I'll move to approve the substitute and 2 summer contracts.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve substitute Morgan Swenson and extended summer contracts for Ricky Bancroft and Mike Schnicken. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. 21st Century Program.
So there are 4 names on the 21st Century summer programs, which would be Jenna Mainwaring, Harper Wolfgram, Lexi Davies, and Kinsley Hagan.
I move to approve those 4 as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 21st Century Summer Program list as presented. I'm not going to try to say it. I tried to write them down. Any discussion? Discussion? Any public comment?
It will be a great crew.
All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment for 25-26 high school English teacher.
So after interviewing, we would like to offer a contract to Wyatt Frank for the high school English position. Do you want to do each one or all together?
I think we can.
One is a classified position, if that matters, but high school CTE, Family and Consumer Science, Shay Bursama. Head Maintenance Custodial, John Menard, who is, just so you are aware, has been on staff here for the last few years. And is taking that. And then high school band, Karen Walton. And we are very pleased with, we've been very pleased with the applicant pool we received for each of those, and very comfortable with our recommendation.
I move to approve Wyatt Frank, Shay Bursama, John Menard, and Karen Walton as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Wyatt Frank, Shay Bursama, John Menard, and Karen Walton as presented. Is there any discussion?
Did any of them need staff housing that we provide, or just staff housing?
No, they do not.
Discussion?
Good question, though, yes. They actually are all semi-local, I guess, call it.
No, that's good. I just didn't know where we were at with those. Thank you.
Any public comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. That is the end. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate the conversation. So.